Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute once we have a few more folks come in. Okay. Some more trickling in. But one more minute. We have a lot to cover today. All right. We will go ahead and get started. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to review some current headlines about the state of the economy, the job market, and national trends. We'll also share some up-to-date Handshake posting numbers to give a sense of the current state of recruitment at UW. And for some quick introductions, Wendy and I both work in the Career and Internship Center. I'm Lindsay Smith. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Associate Director for Employer and Community Connections.
I'm Wendy Israel. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Career Technologies Manager.
All right, so before we start, a few housekeeping items. Please use the Q&A function to track your questions. We'll address the Q&A at the end of the session, and we will turn off our cameras so you can focus on the content. All right. Here is our agenda slide. So we have a few things that we want to go over with you today. First, we'll do a bit of an intro to who we are at the Career and Internship Center, provide some national data and recent reporting, share UW Handshake posting data, and close with some resources and tips. Wendy, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much. I apologize. I muted myself. So our vision here at the Career and Internship Center is that all Huskies graduate career ready. We strive to create opportunities for students to explore careers, to build skills and experiences and relationships that will support them in their career journey. And to accomplish that, we have a very small but mighty team of 12 full-time staff and 4 part-time student staff. And we're here to serve students, employers, staff, and of course, you, our campus partners. We're located in Mary Gates Hall 134, and we're here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And you can always find us at careers.uw.edu. We have a lot of self-serve resources on our website there. We also have a general email that you can direct students to if they have questions, askcic@uw.edu. At the end of this session, Lindsay and I will also provide our contact information. So if you have any follow-up questions about the webinar today, you can email us directly.
All right. So before we dive in, Wendy and I are not economists. We do want to acknowledge that things are changing rapidly. So it's hard to say with certainty what the job market is doing and will continue to do over the next few months heading into June graduation. The information we're sharing is a bit of an overview of where we think things stand now. But of course, we cannot predict what will happen with the job market, especially for college students and in Seattle in particular. With that, let's take a look at some national projections. So we like to reference reports by these two entities, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics and NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, as a baseline. And the most recent report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics includes data from January. Around 143,000 new jobs were added to the economy in January, with about 70% of those in healthcare, retail, and social assistance. The average monthly gain in 2024 was 166,000, so a bit of a drop there. Unemployment hovered around 4% and is still there now. The February report comes out this Friday, March 7th, so I will say I'm not sure if it's still there now. We will find out when that report comes out in 2 days. So this first graph shows the unemployment rate as it has changed over the past year. And the second graph shows changes in total jobs added or lost per month. If you see that low number in October 2024, that was due to a number of elements, including the Boeing strike. When those folks were on strike, they were technically included as unemployed for that time. So that is what that is referring to. So the NACE job outlook. NACE, again, is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. They create an annual job outlook forecast report to predict hiring intentions of employers as they relate to new college graduates. So the 2025 survey was conducted in August and September of 2024 with 237 employer respondents, 12.7% of which are from the Rocky Mountain or Far West region. And NACE produces an updated report in April. As much has changed in the past 6 months, I will share just a few pieces of this report. I am looking forward to the April update as well. So some top drivers of hiring increases and drops. Employers have indicated that the top driver of hiring is the need for talent and organizational growth. The highest percentage included the commitment to succession planning and the importance of a talent pipeline. The key factor for decreasing hires is mostly contributed to budget cuts. Uncertain economy is also a factor. If I were to guess, I would assume that that percentage has increased for uncertain economy. And for an employer view, despite hiring gains, employers have a less positive view of the job market. The percentages of employers who believe we have an excellent, very good, or good job market for 24-25 has dipped below the 2023-24 figures. This first orangey red one on each section is 24-25. The percentage of employers believing the job market is fair or poor increased by 60% over last year's numbers. So you'll see the red orangey color is higher here. Now we'll share a few headlines and reports about the current job market published within the past week and a half, one of which was published 3 hours ago. So overall, the job market is uncertain. Over the past 2 weeks, economists have shared their analyses of the situation. The Atlantic published an article last week referring to a potentially frozen job market. What does this mean? Basically, the labor market, it seems locked in place. Employees are staying put, and employers aren't searching for new ones. And the dynamic appears to be affecting white-collar professionals the most. Why is this happening? Well, from the employer side, employers are scarred by the chaos of the Great Resignation of spring 2021 to early 2023 and are less willing to let go of existing workers or try to hire new ones. Employers are also very wary about America's economic future. From an employee standpoint, people are hesitant to move or change jobs with an uncertain economy, even as wage growth has slowed and job satisfaction has declined over the past few years. And in a recent Money Watch article, the chief economist at High Frequency Economics shared that based on all indicators showing declining customer and business confidence and sentiment, we are expecting a slowing economy. Basically, consumers are rattled. While their current situation may not be so bad, a growing number do not feel so good about the future. The decline in confidence sharpened since the November election. And in additional publications, economists warn about a potential recession due in part to federal layoffs and private market uncertainty. With the over 200,000 federal layoffs and pullback of contracts, the March employment report is likely to show bigger job losses than any month ever outside of a few in 2008, 2009, and 2020. And then in a Forbes article published 3 hours ago, the risk of recession is increasing according to multiple indicators. However, an encouraging note, economic data is often noisy month to month, and recession signals typically prove far more frequent than actual recessions. The range of indicators implying that the US economy could be softening is growing, but a key test will be jobs market data, since sharply rising unemployment is one of the best recession indicators. If the unemployment rate remains at around 4% in upcoming reports, then it's likely that some of these other economic signals are a false alarm. Again, these next reports come out. The next comes out on Friday, March 7th. So it will be interesting to see what they say. Next, we're going to move on to some positive updates, and I'll pass it on to Wendy.
You so much, Lindsay. So one of my roles here at UW is managing our Handshake platform, and we are going to take a look at some of the data specifically from that, which I think is a little bit more positive than what we're seeing nationally right at this point. So if you take a look at this next graph, you pop up that, thank you, Lindsay, appreciate that. This shows the number of jobs that were posted each month from July 2024 all the way up through just this past month through February 2025. I just want to address some of the changes in those numbers. So fair, the jobs stay fairly stable. Around 15,000 jobs are posted a month in Handshake. There's less internships and they fluctuate more. So you might have between 1,000 and 2,000 internships, maybe 3,000 most months out of the year. But then in the fall and spring, we get a jump as recruiters are looking to fill those summer internships and for the following year. So you'll get a big jump there. I do want to address this very large jump in December of 2024. So it goes from 14,000 all the way up to 21. Then it jumps again to 26 and then starts to level off at 27. Those numbers are actually not tied to any national trends. They are a change related to or a result of a change to the way that Handshake is supporting employers posting positions. So they made a change in late December to make it more streamlined for employers to post to multiple handshakes across the country. So it makes it easier to post to more than one school. So employers are posting to more schools, which is great because that means more opportunities for our students to apply to. So the number, again, more related to a function of handshake changes, but it does result in an increased number of opportunities for our students. So if you're a student and you log into Handshake today, you're a UW student, you're going to see more than 55,000 jobs, more than 10,000 internships, 245 fellowships, and 58 on-campus jobs. I do want to say something about specifically the on-campus job number is a little bit misleading, and I think this is a good way it's misleading. There's actually many more on-campus jobs than 58. Each posting on Handshake can actually be used to fill multiple vacancies. So a great example from our campus here is UW Dining and Food Services. They will post one job for a dining assistant when in actuality they're looking to hire maybe 100 or 200 over the course of a year. And so that 58 on-campus jobs might actually translate into 200 or 300 job opportunities. So the encouraging signs for students is when they log on to Handshake, there are things available both on and off campus. On the next slide, we're going to shift into who is hiring on Handshake. So these are the top 10 industries and job functions just from the past 2 months from January and February 2025. And looking back at the historical data in preparation for this, there hasn't been a drastic change in these top 10 industries over the past year. Nonprofit, healthcare, and government all remain high. And I will say one thing that's interesting is Handshake groups all government in one umbrella. So as you'll see, local, state, and federal are all grouped under one umbrella. That remains very high in terms of top industries because state and local government are still very actively posting. Especially right now, I've seen so many city and county and state governments looking for interns this summer. So that remains very positive, despite the headlines that we're seeing about the uncertainty in the federal government. Local and state is still very strong in hiring right now. And I'm going to turn things over to Lindsay and have her talk about career fair opportunities.
Thank you. So During the past 2 quarters in autumn and winter of this year, we hosted 4 career fairs, 2 in person and 2 virtual, with external employers, totaling 238 employer booths. And within that group, 83 indicated that they are actively hiring for jobs or internships. So this is really positive. We ask employers at every fair their intentions why they're there. And so the 83% hovers right around the average from the past year and a half. So that's really encouraging to hear that employers aren't just coming, just for pipelining or branding, but they're really looking to actively hire. So this has been a lot of information and data. What do we do with this, and how can we support our students? We have some tips. So I graduated from college in 2008 around the recession. And so a lot of this applied to us then and in 2020 as well. So a lot of these tips we encourage to students in general. Um, but it's always especially important during difficult job markets. So our go-to phrase in the Career and Internship Center is, your first job is just that. It's your first job. So a graduate's first opportunity out of college does not need to be a glamorous gig at a Fortune 500 company. I know there's a lot of expectation naturally to, fall into your dream job, right out of graduation, but that also isn't always the best for students. They need an opportunity to learn and build some skills. So that goes into be open-minded about the type of workplace in terms of size, type, location. There's so many fantastic opportunities out there that can help a student build skills, learn what they do and don't like, grow their network. As Wendy mentioned, there are thousands of opportunities in Handshake, and we do encourage students to kind of widen their net on what they're looking for, especially during this time. And along those lines, building skills again is key. Many of the skills employers look for in students have nothing to do with technical knowledge, but include, in order, communication, critical thinking, and teamwork from a survey done that Brianna shared in her presentation in January. And so communication, critical thinking, and teamwork can be developed in just about any opportunity. So students can develop these skills in part-time job, internship, volunteer opportunity, just about anything. Also, personal projects and courses through LinkedIn Learning and other opportunities can provide a chance to grow skill sets. Students can also work to build their networks by talking with others like alumni, faculty, friends of friends. Students can learn about careers they hadn't considered before, get advice on making themselves competitive, learn of upcoming opportunities, and more. Informational interviews are also a great way to build those connections so that if a company does start hiring again, a student may be first in mind for someone. Also considering temp, seasonal, or contract work. There are all valid ways to get started in the workforce. So those shouldn't necessarily be ruled out. And finally, as possible, students shouldn't let the headlines scare them from trying. There's a lot we don't know. There are a lot of clickbaity article titles. And as Wendy noted, there are a lot of opportunities for open positions out there. Apply, but intentionally, rather than mass applying, which tends to be a habit right now, and continue the search. Now let's take a look at some of the resources available at the Career and Internship Center. I mentioned career fairs, and we still have quite a few. So we're doing another spring on-campus job fair on that is April the 2nd, not April the 3rd, where departments will be promoting their on-campus jobs for next academic year. And on a few days later, on April 8th, is our large all industries, all majors spring in-person job and internship fair. We have a Career Connections tabling event for law, government, and policy organizations on the 24th. Then a number of other fairs. We have three alumni panels also. First one featuring former international students, which I think could be really helpful for any of your international students that may be struggling right now, and also careers in public health, and then non-teaching careers in education. So recommend have your students check those out in Handshake. And then employer events. So students can find a variety of virtual employer events on Handshake using the last tab of the events hosted by employers on the events page on Handshake. There are dozens in there for students to register for. Okay, Wendy, you're up.
Okay, I just want to highlight a few more resources that we have. So again, go to our website and direct students there as well. In addition to the fairs and events, we obviously, as you know, have wonderful coaches here. So we have career coaches that your students can meet with, both appointment-based and drop-in coaching, and the hours are on our website. We also have what I would call some self-serve resources on the right there. So if students are needing it's 9 p.m. and they have an interview the next day and they need some interview tips, they can go on there and find some good information about that or about resumes or just general skill building as it relates to career searches. One particular thing I wanted to point out is on the left side of the screen, you'll see something called free subscriptions for Huskies. And that is basically any career platform that we subscribe to here at the Career and Internship Center that is available for free as part of being a student, staff, or faculty at UW. So we've got things like JobScan that you can use to scan your resume for ATS quality. We've got Udly, which you can use to do a practice for a presentation or an interview. And one in particular that you will find there is called Interstride, and I'd like to talk about that for a minute. That's another specialized place that students can go to look for jobs outside of Handshake, LinkedIn, Indeed. This is it's specifically for international students looking for US opportunities, but it's also for domestic students looking to work globally. The one thing I really like about this is that it provides a lot of information about visas and sponsorship information from each company. So I've pulled up a screenshot here. Students can go and just search like they would any job database, search for company, search for job, search for title, search for location, but then they can also dig deeper and get some visa insights. So this is the top companies in Interstride by the number of sponsorship petitions they have asked for in the past few years. And so looking at Amazon, apologies, my chat is covering up the information that I need. You can see that they filed over almost 4,000 petitions for sponsorship just for software development engineer 2 at Amazon last year. So it's nice to see this for two reasons. One, it gives students a really good indication of which companies are most likely or most able to support them as international students. I think it also gives students a way to work with a company that's very well versed in working with international students and will be able to support them during that process. And then I did want to also say that after students graduate, they still have access to our resources. Some they have access forever, like Handshake as an alumni, you can have access to that beyond any time after you graduate to still look for jobs and apply for positions. We also offer 3 years of career coaching after graduation, so students can continue to come and meet with our coaches for assistance even after they leave UW Seattle. And then finally, we have a webpage for staff, advisors, and faculty. So if you ever have any questions about what we offer, best practices to support your students, we have this webpage available for you. Also, if you don't have access to Handshake and you would like it, not necessarily to post a position, which of course you could do, but if you're just wanting to use one, to have an account so you can see what your students are seeing and support them that way, there's a form on there that you can fill out, and it will be me who processes that form and gives you access to Handshake and kind of walk you through that process. And I believe That is all we have for today. We're always here to answer questions. Our emails are up there. Mine's very easy to remember, handshake@uw.edu. Lindsay's is on there as well. And I know we had some questions in the chat and a couple of good questions in the Q&A. So
Yeah,
we
so
can
I
start
will
getting to
jump
those.
and I'll start. So the
Okay.
state, when someone asked that state and local government jobs still being strong, do you think this will be affected by the anticipated state budget cuts? Most likely, I am guessing so. We will just have to see where where that goes, but I would assume yes. Um, Chris had a good question. Am I right in assuming that UW jobs are not under government, even though UW employees are state employees? In Handshake, um, university jobs are usually categorized under higher education. However, I will say UW does not post, full-time staff roles on Handshake. So UW specifically is not on here. Some other schools may do that, but we just use UW hires. Soon to be Workday, but yeah, high roles at higher education institutions are usually categorized as higher ed. And the employers choose their own industry, so it can be it can cross different industries, but they have to select just one. It's a great question. Um, let's see here. I will let Wendy handle the next. Can you speak to the vetting process for postings on UW Handshake?
Yes, I can speak to that. So employers have to fill out, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. They basically have to start with setting up an account via Handshake, and it's not like setting up a standard online account where you just fill it out and you get it immediately. They go through a vetting process on Handshake and before they ever get to us. So they need to submit things like um, their full employer address, like anything related to their business license, their contact information. So essentially, it's a verification process to assure that they are a real employer, that they're above board, that they're following all the rules and regulations related to employing people and students specifically in the United States. So there's that, and then they come to us. Then I will see them when they try to post a job to UW. And when they're a new employer, they, especially if they're posting an internship, they come into my queue first. And so I can check to make sure that they're paid internships, that they're good opportunities. So aside from the sort of like automatic verification that happens through Handshake, it also gets a second pair of eyes on it, which is me, to make sure that they are good opportunities for our students.
All right, thank you for that. So we have a few questions in the chat. So where would it be appropriate for students to ask about job security? If so, after getting an interview, after getting an offer? I mean, that's a great question. I think it's absolutely fair, especially given the state of the market. When is interesting? Probably after getting an interview. I think you probably want to get in the door before asking, but it's a very valid question, and students should feel open to asking. How often and when do job offers get rescinded? Um, it happens. It does happen. We particularly in our center don't hear about them as much as we're the general center. I know in the business school and in the engineering school and computer science, they will more often hear as their students talk to them about their opportunities. And that happening, but it does happen sadly, and it happens at a higher rate in these times. Okay, let's see here. Then we had one, where can students find internship opportunities besides Handshake? I mean, LinkedIn and Indeed are also, like Wendy mentioned, good places to look. For UW students particularly, and for universities in general, Handshake is the place where we send students. There's another UW sanctioned system, but um, LinkedIn, Indeed, InterStride for international opportunities is a great place. We are at time. Feel free to pop in another question if you have a last question. You're also welcome to email us. My email again, lsmith8@uw.edu. Wendy is at handshake@uw.edu. And we are here to support you all as we navigate this uncertain time ahead. So thank you so much and have a great afternoon.